A pleasant day to everyone. This is our reaction video about Cry of Rebellion. The Cry is commemorated as National Heroes Day, a public holiday in the Philippines. But what does this term mean? The term cry is translated from the Spanish El Grito de Rebelión or Cry of Rebellion or El Grito for short. Thus, the Grito de Balintawak is comparable to Mexico's Grito de Dolores in 1810. However, El Grito de Rebellion strictly refers to a decision or call to revolt. It does not necessarily connote shouting unlike the Filipino sigaw. In this video, we will tackle about how, when and where the Cry of Rebellion happened to have more further understanding about this topic. In late August 1896, member of Katipunan led by Andres Bonifacio revolted somewhere around Caloocan, which included parts of the present-day Quezon City. Originally, the term cry referred to the first clash between the Katipuneros and the Civil Guard, or Guardia Civil. The cry could also refer to the tearing up of community tax certificates, or cédulas personales, in defiance of their allegiance to Spain. The inscription of Viva la Independencia Filipina can also be referred as term for the cry. This was literally accompanied by patriotic shouts. Because accounts of the event vary, the exact date and place of the event is unknown from 1908 until 1963. The event was thought to have occurred on August 26 in Balintawak. In 1963, the Philippine government declared August 23 to be the date of the event in Quezon City. But which is actually the truth? This is the part where we will going to discuss about the different accounts about the Cry of Rebellion.
There are three different accounts of Cry of Rebellion. First is Guillermo Masangkay's account. On August 26, a big meeting was held in Balintawak at the house of Apolonio Samson, then cabeza of that barrio of Caloocan. Among those who attended, I remember, were Bonifacio, Emilio Jacinto, Aguedo del Rosario, Tomas Remedio, Bricio Pantas, Teodoro Plata, Pio Valenzuela, Enrique Pacheco, and Francisco Carrion. They were all leaders of the Katipunan and composed the board of directors of the organization. Delegates from Bulacan, Cabanatuan, Cavite, and Morong were also present, as Guillermo Masangkay stated. In this account, it says that the Cry of Balintawak occurred in August 26, 1906. The cry defined as the turning point when the Filipinos finally refused Spanish colonial dominion over the Philippine Islands. With tears in their eyes, the people as one man pulled on their cédulas and tore them into pieces. It was the beginning of the formal declaration of the separation from Spanish rule. Long live the Philippine Republic, the cry of the people. An article from the Sunday Tribune magazine on August 21, 1932 featured the statements of the eyewitnesses account by Katipunan General Guillermo Masangkay, a Katipunero speaks. Masangkay recounts the Cry of Balintawak, stating that on August 26, 1896, a big meeting was held in Balintawak at the house of Apolonio Samson, then the cabeza of that barrio of Caloocan. At about 9 o'clock in the morning of August 26, the meeting was opened with Andres Bonifacio presiding and Emilio Jacinto acting as secretary. In August 1896, after the Katipunan was discovered, Masangkay joined Bonifacio, Emilio Jacinto, and others in clandestine meeting held on the 26th of that month of Apolonio Samson's house in Caloocan. Initially, the leaders of the movement quarreled over strategy and tactics, and many of its members questioned the wisdom of an open rebellion due to the lack of arms and logistical support. However, after Bonifacio's intense and convincing speech, everyone destroyed their cédulas to symbolize their defiance towards Spain and together raised the cry of revolt. Pio Valenzuela. In 1936, Pio Valenzuela, along with Bricio Pantas and Enrique Pacheco, said the first cry of the revolution did not happen in Balintawak, where the monument is, but in a place called Pugad Lawin. In 1940, a research team of forerunner of the National Historical Institute, which included Valenzuela, identified the location as part of Sitio Gulod, Banlat, Caloocan City. In 1964, the NHI described this location as the House of Tandang Sora. The first cry of revolution was not happened in Balintawak where it taking place, but in the locality which is known as Pugad Lawin. According on this account, the first place where some 500 members of the Katipunan met on August 22, 1896 was the house and yard of Apolonio Samson at Kangkong. Aside from the persons mentioned above, like Andres Bonifacio, Emilio Jacinto, Procopio, Teodoro Plata, and Aguedo del Rosario, among those who were there were Bricio Pantas, Alejandro Santiago, Ramon Bernardo, Apolonio Samson, and others. It was at Pugad Lawin, the house, storehouse, and yard of Juan Ramos, son of Melchor Aquino, where over 1,000 members of the Katipunan met and carried out considerable debate and discussion on August 23, 1896. The discussion was on whether or not the revolution against the Spanish government should be started on August 29, 1896. After the tumultuous meeting, many of those present tore their cedula certificates and shouted, "Long live the Philippines! Long live the Philippines!" Santiago Alvarez account. Santiago Alvarez, the son of Mariano Alvarez, the leader of the Magdiwang faction in Cavite, stated in 1927 that the cry took place in Bahay Toro, now in Quezon City, on August 24, 1896. According to the account of Alvarez, it was on August 24, 1896 that the first cry take place. However, account of Magsangkay contradicted and stated that the first cry happened on August 26, 1896 at Balintawak, and this was used by the government to fix the date and place of the first cry following the erection of the Monument of the Heroes of 1896. In that place, in 1986, the National Historical Commission of the Philippines, upon extensive research of the primary sources, declared that the first cry of the Philippine Revolution happened on August 23, 1896 at Pugad Lawin. The official date and place of the first cry was largely based on the account of Pio Valenzuela, who was present during the event.
Various accounts give differing dates and places for the cry of Pugad Lawin. An officer of the Spanish Guardia Civil, Lieutenant Olegario Diaz, stated that the cry took place in Balintawak on August 25, 1896. Historian Teodoro Calao, in his 1925 book The Filipino Revolution, wrote that the event took place during the last week of August 1896 at Kangkong, Balintawak. Santiago Alvarez, a Katipunero and son of Mariano Alvarez, the leader of the Magdiwang faction in Cavite, stated in 1927 that the cry took place in Bahay Toro, now in Quezon City, on August 24, 1896. Pio Valenzuela, a close associate of Andres Bonifacio, declared in 1948 that it happened in Pugad Lawi on August 23, 1896. Historian Gregorio Zaide stated in his book in 1954 that the cry happened in Balintawak on August 26, 1896. Fellow historian Teodoro Agoncillo wrote in 1956 that it took place in Pugad Lawi on August 23, 1896, based on Pio Valenzuela's statement. Accounts by historians Milagros Guerrero, Emmanuel Encarnacio, and Ramon Villegas claim the event to have take place in Tandang Soras Barn in Golod, Barrio Banlat, Caloocan, now a part of Quezon City. Some of the apparent confusion is in part due to the double meanings of the term Balintawak and Caloocan. At the turn of the century, Balintawak referred both to a specific place in modern Caloocan and a wider area which included modern Quezon City and part of modern Pasig. Pugad Lawin, Pasong Tamo, Kangkong, and other specific places were all in Greater Balintawak, which was in turn part of Greater Caloocan.
But why Balintawak? The cry of rebellion in the Philippines happened in August 1896. There are a lot of controversies puzzling the minds of the readers regarding the real place and date of this event. Some accounts pointing directly to Balintawak are associated with the cry. Lieutenant Olegario Diaz of the Spanish Civil Guards wrote in 1896 that the event happened in Balintawak, which corroborates the accounts of the historian Gregorio Zaide and Teodoro Calao. On the other hand, Teodoro Agoncillo based his account from that of Pio Valenzuela that emphasized Pugadlawin as the place where the cry happened. Here are some reasons why Pugadlawin is not considered as the place of the cry. People of Balintawak initiated the revolution against the Spaniards. That is why it is not appropriate to call it the cry of Pugadlawin. The place Pugadlawin only existed in 1935 after the rebellion happened in 1896. The term Pugadlawin was only made up because of the hawk's nest at the top of all a tall tree at the backyard of Tandansora in Banlat, Gulod, Caloocan, where it is said to be one of the hiding places of the revolutionary group led by Andres Bonifacio. Other cries. In 1895, Bonifacio, Masangkay, Ibilio, Jacinto, and other Katipuneros spent Good Friday in the caves of Mount Pamitinan in Montalban, now part of Rizal Province. They wrote, "Long live Philippines Independence" on the cave walls, which some Filipino historians consider the first cry commemoration.
The cry is commemorated as National Heroes Day, a public holiday in the Philippines. The first annual commemoration of the cry occurred in Balintawak in 1908, after the American colonial government repealed the Sedition Law. In 1911, a monument to the cry, a lone Katipunero popularly identified with Bonifacio, was erected at Balintawak. It was later transferred to Vincent's Hall in University of the Philippines, Diliman, Quezon City. In 1984, the National Historical Institute of the Philippines installed a commemorative plaque in Pugadlawin. Not all accounts relate the tearing of cedulas in the last days of August. Of the accounts that do, older ones identify the place where this occurred as Kangkong in Balintawak, Caloocan. Most also give the date of the cedula tearing as August 26, in close proximity to the first encounter. One Katipunero, Guillermo Masangkay, claimed cedulas were torn more than once on the 24th as well as the 26th. For his 1956 book, The Revolt of the Masses, Teodoro Agoncillo defined the cry as the tearing of cedulas departing from President, which had then defined it as the first skirmish of the revolution. His version was based on the later testimonies of Pio Valenzuela and others who claimed the cry took place in the Pugad Lawin instead of Balintawak. Valenzuela's version thought Agoncillo's influence became the basis of the current stance of the Philippine government. In 1963, President Diosdado Macapagal ordered the official commemorations shifted to the Pugad of Uwak, Quezon City on August 23. Formation of an insurgent government, an alternative definition of the cry as the birth of the Filipino nation-state, involves the setting up of the national insurgent government through the Katipunan with Bonifacio as president in Banlat. Pasong Tamo on August 24, 1896, after the tearing of Sidulas but before the first skirmish. This was called the Haring Bayang Katagalugan, or Sovereign Tagalog Nation.
House music.
The cry is commemorated as National Heroes Day, a public